A very nice philosopher, professor, chap, was on Lex Friedman. His name is Sean Kelly, S-E-A-N, as in James Bond. Says, quote, sometime Christianity decided at some point that Muslims, because of their other version of monotheism, their other God, weren't really fully human, end quote. They had practiced, of course, the Christians by then on the Jews for 1,000 years. Scholars have said the Christian blamed the Jew for the death of Christ, a Jew. And we all went, ooh, 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 like Lou Reed's Colored Girls, like we do. I have no good idea why we, the we, not them, were keen to accept this unforgivable unlikelihood. It would be an intolerable idea to Christianity or its intellectual apologists, anyway, the most dangerous of Christians. By the time the crusade causing bigotries began against Islam, it should have been clear the real reason for basic monotheist racism. This world ain't big enough for more than one God. To Christians, Muslims, and Jews, and all switch chairs when the music stops, are heretics on purpose. They aren't just inhuman apes, but evil, since they choose to be so. Maybe some people are inferior apes, pagans, but the other monotheists must be evil because they know there is one God, just the wrong one. These are not blissfully ignorant, childlike natives of the Americas as we imagined them, etc. These are clever people exposed to the same past who choose perversely to believe He is Allah, not Yahweh, and therefore we hate each other mutually. It's like communism. Kelly then thinks that modern liberal philosophy convinced Christians to not see Muslims as the other in that way. This was the great step forward into the reality of today. Now, this man has studied philosophy, European philosophy, probably other philosophies, for a long, long time. He has degrees and PhDs. This was Enlightenment liberalism. A progress, an invention, a step forward in the linear way of philosophy. Then stupid stuff like forgiving the Jews for sentencing Christ could be put out there and overcome. This is the consensus that vaporized on October the 7th, actually the 8th, when the Cro-Magnons began their thinking and responding. Liberalism died, or died the death that was made public, or showed itself in its true colors. Joe Biden. There was no memory in my philosopher's mind of before the big three, the pagans who on the evidence did not decide that the tribes they encountered while being nomads, creating city-states, invading each other or not, were not inherently evil or inferior. This is not how they saw the world. They didn't see it hierarchically. These relationships, these hates and bigotries are on the evidence, unfortunately, largely Christian. The evil other should be eradicated, or if they were merely inferior, they were put here by God to serve us, the Christian, the Muslim, or the Jew. Now, don't lie, because you know that's what you did. As I jumped in earlier, with monotheism came messiahs. And this made all the difference. No liberalizing secular Christian can fix it. Their every move will be condescension. They might admit, yes, we made rather a bad job of it, but they will add, we do know how to fix it. Here, let us show you, let us teach and lead you, you silly lot, still. End quote. Supremacy is hard to quit, man. It results in the cultural mansplaining, the Eurosplaining, or Allah-splaining. You can't fix this. You are this. The good books are no more than, quote, you know what you should do, end quote. Catalogs with some supernatural Marvel stuff thrown in, messianism. There is a reason the old boy attention, it is a reason they fit, not just, there is a reason these tedious films keep on keeping on, not just because they fit the 14-year-old boy attention span, they actually reflect the unconscious idiocy of adults. Joe Biden should run because his messianism should win. That the Trumpers say exactly the same flusters no one. That Project 2025 promises to return us to the original intent of the founders as writ in the Constitution is lost on its opposers who want us to return to the original intent of the founders. Come on! I suspect it is a good and necessary fight which will, as it has, stalemate, while a third lot perhaps will abandon the magic papers with the messiahs of Philadelphia and start again, swearing an oath to obey common sense. Democrats and Republicans just look just like Catholics and Protestants, sects of one cult, and we should know by now there is no war like sectarian war. Ask mullahs, bishops, and rabbis. This mad definition of self as I believe in this or that, therefore I am, can only really appeal to idiots, intentional idiots. I wondered today what would occur to a young person who grew to adulthood without knowing God, who had no instruction, no indoctrination. Would we make it up? Would we, the child, the godless child, invent it? That's the test. I could be that person. I was offered a panoply to choose from, but as I have said, I never felt the need of a God. I imagine two things, therefore. If I had been offered him from birth as the explanation of an otherwise mystifying life, I might, going forward, feel a need of him. But trust me, without this intrusion, without his intrusion, the other explanations available worked out just fine. He was not missed. The explanation of much contemporary dysfunction is the lack of fathers, the one-parent family. Well-paid authors of well-thought-of books will look into the lens and say, well, it's obvious these young men have no male model in the home, expecting us to nod. I say bollocks, but it is a variation on the godless child theme. No, Dad. More on the messy. It seems to ebb and flow. Reality might intrude. You might find that prayer didn't work, but the neighbors did. That the enemy you imagined was a nice guy, that your army committed atrocities just like the ones you were sure only Russians did, or raped women during wartime, or all the time, that the Kazakhs on a desolate plain could fix your motorcycle with a truck part every time, that some Stone Age tribes don't know what kings are, that most European kings had tiny brains amongst other organs, that bullies are terrified, or that most of our heroes are psychotic egotists in a time when that was the thing. Then, just as bleakness fell with the sky, in steps the Messianic, not the Messiah, himself, herself, just the messenger. One shall come after me. I think Messianism is making a comeback because armchair Messianists are being exposed for what they did, the crimes they committed in the name of their Messiah, like Hollywood producers under the glare of Me Too follow Spot. The display of Western messianism surrounding Ukraine and Gaza is disgusting and homicidal. Both conflicts could have been resolved long ago without messianic meddling. NATO is an organization rooted in the Crusades. It assumes permanently fixed evil intent in the East. How original. Russia, Islam, as sure as Satan was invented, and the need of this lowering cloud has become part of Western personal DNA, so much so that they actually need it like alcoholics. And once more, for the umpteenth time, truth is irrelevant. We believe the myth because we need to. What might occur had we a culture that demanded adults who did not have this need? Had we a tribalism, indeed a religion that gave us autonomy and made us accountable? That is nowhere in the three. Their scholars might disagree cogently. They might have found something profound in the grip of revelation, but until this is generally available to the not-so-select, it is irrelevant. What Tom Holland or Malcolm X might find in the books What countless rabbis find their discoveries are naturally elitist? What cleric wrote up the rationale for the Inquisition or the suicide bomber? Which one? It seems since World War II it has lain dormant, seems, madam, seems, on the street definitely since the fall of communism, the triumph of the West. Then conveniently comes 9/11.